Follow these real world leadership tips to help you during your RGR.
If you like leadership content or coaching tips to make your job easier, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next video.
So my friends, when the RGR starts, the kitchen manager is one of the people that sets the tone of how the visit's going to go. So here are some tips that can help you help your shift leader get a real good score on your next visit. Here you go. Some tips that can help you. So my first tip for you is concerning food safety. Again, we're a restaurant, so the most important thing that you're responsible for is to make sure that the food is safe. You know, are the temperatures being logged correctly? Is everything being hit, or are the temperatures being hit? You know, personal hygiene. You know, the sanitation. The gloves, you know, all those different steps under food safety. Are they being managed by you? And are you ensuring that you're on top of all those and taking care of them? So tip number one, be on top of food safety. Tip number two, code dates and your labeling, okay? Now, first, make sure that your label maker is on the set correct date, and you know, it's real easy to do, so depending on which model you have, so make sure that's right. But basically, you know, no missing stickers, everything in code. Don't be guessing on the times. Make sure you're following the correct procedure. So very important, all, you know, for quality and for food safety as well, that everything has its correct date and time. So make sure that is done. Tip number three is product rotation. First in, first out. Again, that's why those stickers are important, so you know when it get discarded, and looking at your code dates. So all that is important for quality and for food safety. So make sure that your you know, the products are getting rotated. Again, first in, first out. Tip number four, station readiness. Is your station, your grill area ready to go? Both sides ready? You know, is the table stocked? Are there, you know, the equipment is clean, which we'll get to in a minute. The charts, again, we'll get to that in a minute. The monitors are managed correctly. You know, everything is ready to go. You know, it's ready. Okay, so that's tip number four. Tip number five, clean equipment. Okay, so make sure that you're following the correct schedule and that you have a schedule and routines of making sure that your stuff is getting cleaned on the correct date and cleaned correctly, that your team has the proper tools and equipment cards so you can get your equipment cleaned and calibrated. You know, make sure that, again, the grills are certified. So again, that all falls under the PM calendar, checking that, but you should have a schedule of when you clean your equipment. You know, making sure that all that's done. I mean, there's a list of equipment, so I can't go through that here, but clean equipment, gotta make sure, and working equipment. So very important. It could be clean, but if it's broken, you're missing those questions. So clean equipment. Step number six, the correct builds. Gold standard product. Are they making it correctly? You know, in the right order. You know, there's a reason that we do it the way we do it, because of the taste. So it has to be that gold standard. So make sure, my kitchen managers, that you're making all the sandwiches correctly. Every day, got to make sure, and specifically on the RGR, because they're going to be watching you for that. So make sure procedures are followed, portions are correct. So making sure the equipment works, so, you know, the right amounts are being given out. So that's tip number six, correct builds. Tip number seven is the correct holding times on your cabinets, on even on the prep table. Everything has a holding time, expiration date. So making sure that, you know, we're not guessing, that we know them, and that we're taking the appropriate action to enforce them consistently. Number one, for the most important reason, is for food safety, and the second one is just for quality. So make sure that our holding times are being monitored. So that's tip number 7. Tip number 8, allergy awareness. So again, we're a restaurant. And there's allergens out there, right? And we do serve items that people could be allergic to. So making sure that we're aware of those and we take the appropriate action so we're not, there's no cross contact between the foods or the utensils or ourselves when we handle a food that's an allergen risk and then a food that is not. So then make sure we're very consistent with that. On top of that, it's also a food safety issue. So just make sure that we're on top of that. So that's tip number 8. Number 9, communication is clear with the rest of your team in the kitchen area. Do they know their targets? Do they know what, about waste and accuracy? There's not guessing on what the targets are. Everybody knows them. Everybody knows their role, where they're positioned. Are you calm as well? You don't want to be going crazy and yelling. You're clear, you're using names. Don't say somebody dropped me 4 pies and then nobody drops the pies because you didn't say a specific name. Be clear with your communication. So that's tip number 9. Are you in control and communicating effectively and efficiently? Tip number 10, my friends, is again communication, but now with the shift leader. Now, again, ultimately, the one responsible for the entire shift is that shift leader. So you two need to be communicating very, very well. He should be telling you what the targets overall are and checking behind you and making sure that we're coaching any opportunities in your kitchen and, communicating with you. And you should be communicating with the shift leader and letting them know anything that he needs to know. Run out of something's not working. Change your procedure, or not procedures, but positions, sending people on break, equipment not working again, like I said, that communication between y'all two is super important. Gotta make sure that you're doing it. There's no surprises. It's one team, one plan. So communication with you and the shift leader is priority right there. Gotta make sure you're doing it. Tip number 11 is production management. Super important. Gotta make sure that we're cooking the right amounts. Not too much, so we don't have waste. Not too little, so we're not making our customers wait. So production, gotta know, the look, bump, and cook. For that monitor. How to read the monitors. Gotta make sure that you know and understand what information is being given to you. Are we following the system, adjusting to the volume? Preventing waste, like I said. Are we correctly using those projections on there so we're not reacting too late? Stay on top of it. You're not cooking by feeling. You're using the monitors. Make sure that you're using the production monitors correctly. Okay? Correctly. Tip number 12. Again, tie it in with the production monitors. The simplified breakfast execution, my friends. If it's a breakfast visit or just every day in the morning, simplified breakfast has to be managed correctly. You have to know how batch cooking's supposed to happen, what times you're supposed to cook, not cooking to demand. We're cooking what is needed. We're following the monitors, and following the correct procedures. Again, back to the quality and the gold standards. Simplified breakfast, super important. And knowing what to do when, they're not batch cooking. What are your teams doing at that time? Hopefully, you're not sending them on a break. You're having them do things that you need them to do. So that communication and the organization is super important as well. So, again, simplified breakfast is my next tip. Tip number 13, my friends. KVS management. Do you know what dynamic routing is? Do you know when you're supposed to serve the order on either side of the table and for how many people and who's supposed to do what? Do you know the roles of the people that are on the table? The assembler, the presenter, the initiator. You've got to know that to be able to manage the KVS. Do you know when to open the second side? It's about speed, but it's also about strategy. You got to know how all that stuff works. KVS management, my friends. Understand it, know it, live it. Tip number 14, proper positioning. So again, ties back into KVS management. Do you know where all the people are supposed to be positioned and what the roles are? What is the initiator supposed to do? What is the assembler supposed to do? The grill person, the fried product person. who the initiator on the second side, when do you need to open it up. Proper positioning, so should know that, how the people are positioned and work along. So again, back to the communication. All these tie in together. Talk to your shift leader and make sure that we're communicating about proper positioning. And if you got to make any moves, then make sure y'all communicating that. And again, more importantly, that you're communicating with your team in the kitchen so they know where they go and what to do. The right amount of people at the right time doing the right thing. Positioning. So tip number 15, back to cleaning. So prior, the other tip was about the equipment. This one's about the actual kitchen area. The walls, the light lenses, the floors, the baseboards. Is everything clean? Is everything in good shape? The power cords, that's a health and safety thing, but still, is all that or all those things in that area in good shape, in good working order, and good repair. So making sure you're the kitchen manager. You're the one that's making sure that all that is done in your kitchen area prior to this visit. So start now if you haven't been working on it. You don't want to be waiting to the last day, the last week, last month. It should be consistently working on these things. You're the kitchen manager. You see it every day. Work with your store manager to make sure that all these things are ready to go. Tip number 16, my friends, the fry station. Making sure that we're cooking what it says on the monitor, but also the procedures of the fry person. Are they following them? The duty timer, the hold time, salt procedures. You got to make sure that the fry person is following all those procedures correctly. So make sure, my friends, because there's a lot of points there. Got to make sure. And like our number one seller, besides the drinks, is our fries. Every meal we have come with fries. So got to make sure the customers get our world famous fries at a gold standard level. Okay, my friends? Tip number 17, danger zones. One of the danger zones is 3 or more orders on the screen. Again, this ties into positioning as well and all those other things. When do we react to the danger zone? Again, 3 or more. So, but obviously, the faster you react, the faster you take care of our guests. So if it's 2, but at the bare minimum, it's 3. So gotta watch for the danger zones. Reposition if you're in the danger zone. What kind of actions are you taking if you are consistently getting into those danger zones? Okay, my friends? So that's the next tip. So tip number 18. Here's the big one. Okay? So we're not just getting ready for the RGR. All right? You're not changing behaviors now. You should be ready to go. Or a CFV or EcoSure visit. You should be good to go. This is an everyday thing. All right, my kitchen managers? If you're following these tips and all the other things that we have, all the standards and routines that we have, taking care of those things daily is what's going to help you do well on a visit, whatever a visit it might be. All right, health department, it doesn't matter. And because most importantly, we're doing this for our guests. So you do this daily, you're going to have some great customer service. And you'll get repeated visits, which is ultimately what we want. Giving our guests a great visit, a quality visit, where they return and come back to see you, my friends. Okay? So that's the biggest tip I can give you, is to do it every day. You coach every day. You do this, live it every day to make sure that you, my kitchen managers, are taking care of business at the moment of the truth when that guest walks up to your counter. All right, my friend. So I hope that helps, and I hope that gives you some awesome grades. So stay on top of it, my friends, and I'll see you guys on the next one.